Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since my last video. That's because these past few months have been a time for change and transformation. I definitely needed some inner time for reflection. I feel as though I've built up a lot of inner strength and self-love, and I'm ready to start sharing my experiences. In this video, I'm going to share a personal story of my diagnosis with a chronic illness called multiple sclerosis. I'm so grateful for having a platform like this to be able to express myself. To show your support, please subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell if you'd like to be notified when I release a new video. So, story time. Back in 2020, I was experiencing some numbness in my legs, my right leg, and I was experiencing some interesting sensations, especially when exposed to hot or cold, like in the shower, for instance. There was a pain that was radiating out of my glute muscles, down the back of my legs, and I just kept thinking it was sciatica, and I was looking up treatments and causes of sciatica. I did go see my doctor about these symptoms, but when they went away, no further action was pursued. And for the next 2 years or so, life went on pretty much as normal. Then in May of 2022, I experienced that same numbness in my left hand, which started at the tip of my left thumb, and I kept thinking that it was because of an injury under my nail. I remember very vividly talking with a coworker at the time about this experience, and I remember feeling like it was no big deal and nothing to worry about. I kept thinking that it was something to be taken lightly, and I remember even joking with coworkers about these symptoms. Now I understand that my body was sending me messages that I needed to change certain habits and behaviors. It seemed like it was overnight that the numbness went away from my hand and reappeared in my legs. I experienced very weird sensations of numbness in my feet and legs, which I promptly chose to ignore and decided to just keep pushing myself and working the 2 jobs that I was in. The numbness continued through my 30th birthday and through a family camping trip. It had been over a month of experiencing this numbness, and while I was at work at a bakery, one of the customers insisted that I go get it checked out because she'd noticed the grimace on my face and understood intuitively somehow that I was in a lot of pain, but I was hiding it. I honestly feel like that woman was an angel. She asked me what time I finished work that day, and she met me at the end of my shift and drove me to a hospital in Toronto that she recommended for their emergency department. Had it not been for this lady driving me to the hospital, I don't think that I would have got these symptoms checked out for a long time. This random act of kindness moved my heart so much. She refused my offer of taking her out to dinner, and she just told me to instead pass on the deed to the next person. So in the emergency room, it turned out to be a 22-hour-long wait, which ended in a 3-day stay and an MRI and a spinal tap. It was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. After 22 hours of waiting in the waiting room, I felt myself starting to go loopy with lack of food and water, and I remember some people who were visiting, the waiters, were passing around water bottles and granola bars, which I was really thankful for. When things started to get rolling, I felt like I saw so many different doctors and specialists that I honestly started to lose track. After so many balance, proprioception, coordination tests, I finally got to see a neurologist who tested my feeling in my legs with tuning forks among several other tests that she did. She notified me that there was a program in the hospital that I could be admitted right away and have an MRI scheduled that day. I chose to take that offer. The following day after the MRI, the doctors told me that they had to run more tests to confirm a condition that might involve demyelination of the nerves. Day 2 of the stay, they attempted about 5 times a procedure called a spinal tap, which involves inserting a needle into the spinal canal with the purpose of drawing out cerebrospinal fluid for testing. After 5 attempts, I believe, they decided to stop because I ended up having a vasovagal response, which was my body overreacting to the trauma of the needle. And it was a very interesting experience where I started sweating more profusely than I ever had in my life. I felt the need to go to the bathroom and feeling very nauseous and dizzy. On day 3 of the stay, a neurologist with a bit more experience with doing lumbar punctures completed the procedure with minimal effort, which left me with symptoms that were a lot worse than when I had entered the hospital. The last day of the stay, I was given discharge papers with the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis on it. And I had a brief discussion with the doctor who left the room before I really could even register what was happening. I remember getting home from the hospital and I didn't have courage to do any research on what multiple sclerosis was for at least a week or so. My mother came to stay over at my house after I'd been discharged, and I will never forget her washing my hair and me not being able to bend over and pick up the plug out of the bathtub. Having my mom there with me was beyond helpful. Starting right after my diagnosis, she researched endlessly, and as I approached her with information that I finally had the courage to learn about, she would declare that she already knew about it and would elaborate upon it further. If you're watching this, Mom, I want you to know that I love you and I appreciate all of your love and support. Not knowing for the next month or so was the hardest part. I wasn't sure if the symptoms would ever go away, which I'm still not sure of, and I didn't know which subtype of MS that I had. It's a general consensus among my doctors that it's remitting relapsing MS, RRMS, and we believe this because I have older lesions from what seems to be the first flare-up in 2020 when I first was experiencing the numbness, and newer lesions from what must be this new flare-up. And in the MRIs, you could see that some lesions are active and some are no longer active. I am still symptomatic. I experience numbness in my legs and feet, fatigue, headaches, dizziness, and this very interesting sensation called Lermite sign, which is kind of tightness, numbness, and tingling whenever I bring my head forward like that. Also, standing for long periods of time is difficult, and I feel that it makes my symptoms worse. And I also feel that my symptoms get worse as the day progresses, so I do look forward to the mornings when I feel that the symptoms are less pronounced. 2 weeks after my 30th birthday, I was diagnosed with MS. 2 weeks after that, my grandfather was rushed to the ICU. 2 weeks after that, he passed away. This is a person who has had a very significant role in my life and in my family, and I admire him greatly. I think about him every day. So many things happening in my life in such a short period of time got me thinking differently. I'm starting to realize that I've taken for granted so many things in my life. Now, to be completely honest, the majority of the steps that I take are filled with gratitude for my legs and for God for giving me the opportunity to have this beautiful human experience. I vow to change and evolve to become a person that my grandfather would be proud of. So in the future, I have a couple goals. I am going to be finishing up the necessary steps to complete QHHT level 2 training and beginning to conduct sessions. Next month, I'm having a session conducted by a level 3 QHHT practitioner based in Toronto, which I am very excited for. I've also been learning to oil paint, which all started with a trip up to Burleigh Falls, which is a beautiful place if you've never been. In upcoming videos, I would like to discuss such things as my health goals and treatment plans for my condition, the spiritual and metaphysical significance of MS, what message it's trying to teach me and any other people who may be experiencing it, some course reviews, including a Joe Dispenza course found on Hay House U called Making Your Mind Matter, as well as the QHHT level 2 course, my experience with the first Saturn return, as well as how I find my second session with the QHHT practitioner in Toronto next month. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this content, please be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Until next time.